Now, over to another bookshelf. First of all, this is my signed Dean Brody poster. I saw him in Hamilton, Ontario in 2014. Best Canadian country singer there is. Okay, so Pyramids of Egypt by I.E.S. Edwards. Edward Crankshaw's Khrushchev's Russia. The Greeks by H.D.F. Keto. The Suez Canal by Hugh J. Schonfield. And Spotlight on Asia, Revised Edition by Guy Wint. Next, I have a book called Civilizations by Kenneth Clark. Bound in Venice by Alessandro Marzo Magno. The Serene Republic and the Dawn of the Book. I really enjoyed this book. It's about bookbinding and the book trade and production in Venice during the Renaissance and slightly before. Alistair MacLean's Captain Cook. Short History of American Democracy. Now I have some old Canadian school books. The Ontario Public School History of Canada. Price 25 cents, authorized by the Minister of Education for Ontario, printed by the Toronto Ryerson Press. Ontario Public School History of England. JFK, Boyhood to White House by Bruce Lee. Costume and Fashion, 1760 to 1920. Life of a British Soldier by Thomas Farnham. Oops. Pinnock Goldsmith's England. This one is, well, its backboard is loose. It's a very weathered book. Thomas Jefferson by John T. Morse. And Benjamin Franklin by the same author. Sputnik, The Shock of the Century by Paul Dickinson. Criminal Masterminds by Charlotte Gregg. Images of Waterloo. And an old copy of Grey's Anatomy. Next, I have First Aid to the Injured from 1943. It's rather an interesting little novelty book. J.M. Richards, An Introduction to Modern Architecture. Primitive Art by Leonard Adam. The Last of the Untouchables by Paul Robsky with Oscar Fraley. The French Connection by Robin Moore. Uncle Frank, The True Story of the Mafia Boss Who Owned New York by Leonard Kratz. Hopscotch by Brian Garfield. The Hitman by Robert J. Flood. The A-Team, 10% of Trouble. I watched this show quite a bit as a teenager. The Pelican Brief by John Grisham. Mario Puzo's Omerta. The Godfather. It's a good book, but the movies are even better. Richard Castle, Stormfront. Richard Castle, Heat Rises. The Burglar Who Thought He Was Bogart. I admit I bought and read this book mostly because of the reference to Bogart. Great Stories of the Great Lakes. Airport by Arthur Haley. Strong Medicine, also by Arthur Haley. The Portable Beat Reader. Tom Jones by Henry Fielding. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is a library discard. Fathers and Sons by Ian Turgenev. The Collected Poems of Emily Dickinson. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is one of my favorite books ever. Reading Like a Writer, a guide for people who love books and for those who want to write them, by Frances Pro. And down here we have a bunch of Zane Grey and some Alistair MacLean. So, Zane Grey, The Mysterious Rider. The Wooden Horse by Eric Williams. The Bridge on the River Kwai by Pierre Boulle. Oops. Stairs of Sand by Zane Grey. Shadow on the Trail by Zane Grey. Wilderness Trek by Zane Grey. Wildfire by Zane Grey. 30,000 on the Hoof by Zane Grey. And Zane Grey by Frank Gruber. 1916 by Morgan Llewellyn. Force 10 from Navarone by Alistair MacLean. Sea Witch by Alistair MacLean. Athabasca by Alistair MacLean. The Golden Gate. Bear Island. Partisans. Floodgate. Breakheart Pass. Puppet on a Chain. When Eight Bells Toll. The Dark Crusader. The Last Frontier. South by Javahead. Caravan to Vaccaries. The Golden Rendezvous. Circus. River of Death. Goodbye, California. Santorini by Alistair MacLean. Ice Station Zebra by Alistair MacLean. The Dusty Way to Death. Where Eagles Dare, which is the first MacLean I ever read. The Guns of Navarone. The movie of this, I believe it's from the 1960s, is actually quite good. and San Andres. And Law of the Desert Born by Louis L'Amour. The Hills of Homicide by Louis L'Amour. And 3 more Zane Grey, Lone Star Ranger, Riders of the Purple Sage, and the Hash Knife Outfit. One point, a couple years back, I read quite a bit of Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour. I've since gotten rid of all my Louis L'Amour paperbacks for lack of space.